بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We discussed the purpose and effect of a contract. So we talked about the expressions, especially the irada zahiriya, irada batiniya. We talked about the hidden intention. We talked about the fictitious contract. Uh, so most importantly, we learned that in order to um, in order to conclude a contract, there are three pillars. So if three pillars are complete, the contract will be concluded. So this is with regard to the first pillar of the contract, which is expression. So I think this particular chapter, the the purpose and effect is very much related to the first pillar of the contract, because it talks about the consent and your expression, whether it is the real expression or fictitious or artificial expression, or if someone has fulfilled all three pillars of the contract but he is willing to uh, buy that particular product for bad activity with the bad intention. Like I gave you an example. If someone is buying if someone is buying grapes, but his intention is to do to make wine. So whether this contract is, which is because he is going to do something prohibited, something haram, things that he is going to do. So now, is this contract valid? According to majority scholars, it is valid because um, the three pillars of the contract is there. But you need to understand, we don't know yet. I mean, you have no idea what purpose actually he is buying. If you know the purpose, of course, you are not allowed to do that. If someone is buying a knife to kill somebody and you see that intention is coming from him, let's say he's very angry and he is saying he wants to kill someone, and definitely you won't be helping him, rather you will be calling the police and you will be informing others what he is going to do, right? So but what if you don't know and you are selling the grapes? What if you don't know you are selling the knife, right? So here, of course, there are some differences in the scholars' opinions. The thing here is, of course, the act is haram, because if someone with the intention of doing the wrong thing and he is buying, so that act for him is haram for sure. There is no doubt about it. But here we are talking about the legal side, the legal aspect of the contract. So here the contract is valid, but the act is actually haram, right? So it is something like, whether so let's say someone has married, they are living happy, but after a few years things didn't go well, or maybe the husband was become suddenly become crazy, and out of sudden he wanted to say that you are divorced. He used the word talaq, right? So now the word came out of him, um, because he was angry, and he spelled that word talaq, for example. Then for sure the talaq will happen, uh, because of the because the as we know, the nikah is actually an agreement. Like when you say qabiltu, the nikah is happening. The same thing when you say talaqtu, or you use the same word in any language, talaq will happen. But that talaq is actually something Allah doesn't like. You need to know that abghadul halali indallahi at-talaq, which means that the most angriest, um, the the thing that Allah doesn't like. Allah get angry of the most of the halal, which is actually this one halal. Even though this is halal, but Allah gets angry. In fact, when someone says that word, even his arsh is actually shaking, right? So you see how difficult is that. So it was given as a tool in only for the right time to use it. Someone cannot play with it, cannot always use the tool. So now, of course, the example is perfect. I'm giving you. If someone is using it, someone saying it, it will happen. But it is actually something that we are doing wrong. The same thing here. If someone is doing that kind of contract, the thing will happen, right? There are so many things can be given the example, not necessarily only this. Whether you want to buy any technical items, let's say you are buying a camera, but your intention is to put that CCTV and camera in someone's bedroom, for example, which is of course is unethical, is illegal, is haram, right? But how do we know that someone buying the camera for that purpose, and then the seller, how seller supposed to know what purpose is buying and selling, right? So there are so many other examples, like if someone is buying chocolates, and then he just want to put something inside the chocolate, and then he just want to seduce someone, or he just want to uh, kidnap someone, like children's and all, right? So many things, so many bad things are happening with the good stuff, I mean, with the right. So as I told you, like coins, any coin has a two side. So any stuff, any subject matter has two sides. You can use it properly, you can use it improperly, right? So that's the reason why um, we were talking about the purpose and effect. We talked about the irada batiniya, and then we talked about whether this expression is valid or not. All right. Then we talked about the what's happening nowadays with um, the advertisement world. It's actually kind of they are showing, they are actually technically or creatively they are making advertisements, and on what basis the advertisements are happening today, and what is the marketing tools that they are using, right? So we are in this field of marketing, right? Today one of you or many of you may go to that marketing field because it's a kind of a good money making platform, right? But I hope this class will make you remember, especially the project that we are doing, inshallah, will remind you what is the right thing to do. So we shouldn't be a part of misabusing people, showing the wrong thing. And in the market today, you just hire a celebrity, right? Or anybody, like from football, from Bollywood or Hollywood, whatever it is, and you hire them, and then you make them as a model, and then you promote anything through that personality, right? And for example, selling cigarettes, and then you will know now how many kind of celebrities are actually doing that kind of thing. So maybe selling wine, selling beer, right? So now you can see clearly how many kind of people are doing that kind of things. In fact, in countries like my country, even Muslim celebrities also selling alcohol items, prohibited items. They don't care, because for them it's just a selling, it's a marketing, right? So these are the problems today we are having. People are selling the cigarettes, smoking, but they are not going to become the responsibility. They are not going to take any responsibility if the smoker has cancer, right? So we know that smoking leads to cancer, but you cannot come and say, oh, because of your ad, I believed your ad, and you look very healthy. Look at you, you are a celebrity, you look very healthy. So I saw you smoking in the advertisement. So I also want to smoke like you, but look at me, what I have become. I became like this. I'm having cancer now. So you cannot go and tell them, because they will say, I don't care. What is your problem? My job is just to go and do the marketing for the company. You have to go and ask the company, right? So now who is going to take the responsibility? Right, so now acting, whether it is advertisement or whatever it is, that's the reason why I ask you to do this project paper, because it's a kind of eye opening for everybody nowadays, what's happening and how people are, because there is a middle class people, there is a backward people, because they are actually hoping that they can also become like a rich people, or they also can become like a, um, they can also improve their community. So they are also following what people are following, right? But at the end of the day, it's not actually giving them, especially like for example cosmetics, people using cosmetics because of the celebrities and all. And then, but if the cosmetic having any problems, right, it's having, maybe there are so many problems might come to the skin care products and all, but they are not going to take any responsibility of for that. Right. So, if someone is eating some sort of chips, for example, the salted potato chips, and you are showing the problem today is happening. You know why? Because our children. I don't know whether you notice this or not. If you look at your own child life, your adolescent life, and also you can look at your siblings, your your sisters and brothers. I think, hope you have, all of you got it. Look at them, they actually they are not actually eating they are not eating through their mouth. They are today's actually people, children are eating through their eyes. You know what I mean by through their eyes, meaning to say that they watch advertisements, right? And then you look at the advertisement, it's so perfect, it looks like, once you see the advertisement, the next minute you want that. So now the advertisement goes into the brain of the children, and the children is crying and asking the parents, I want that kind of chocolate, I want that kind of that kind of chips, and that kind of, this and that's so many items, if you know. So now you see, the problem today, I think, you will be seeing in many third world countries, developing countries, the things are happening because the children, they don't have immune system, they don't have the right amount of vitamins, minerals in their body. That's because we have broken the food chain. So now you can see a lot of us are having problems, even children are having so many disease. You once you become 20s and 30s, you started having diabetes, blood pressure, and also, what do you think the reason? Because when we were child, we were eating all these kind of chemicals, because all these, you see, once when I'm not here to, I'm not here to make you feel, worried. I'm just telling you the some fact. When you when you are eating chips, it makes you to eat more, because there is a chemical inside the chips. There is a taste, because normally when your mother or father, your household people, when they make the chip, you don't like the chip. Instead, you go and you buy from the shop, right? That's because you like the taste. This especially the potato chips with the cheese and all everything. That's because it sends the message to your brain saying that, okay, this kind of chips is actually is your favorite. So whenever you see, you eat it. So your brain is ordering to your body to get that kind of thing. This is how the children are becoming more addicted towards this kind of thing. They're not eating the healthy food, rather than they are going behind all this pizza, burger, chickens, and all these kind of frozen items. Most importantly, the frozen items, because they have to use some sort of chemicals in order to freeze items. Usually, the frozen items cannot stay longer. If you see the amount on period of the things that they are keeping, it's more than 6 months, 1 year. They can keep it, they can freeze it, right? So they will not be frozen like that long unless you put some kind of chemicals. So now you see people are eating those kind of things, but having problems. Now it won't be necessarily you will see the the effect. This is where I'm talking about effect. You won't see the effect right now. You will see, maybe if you notice, you will see after 10 years, 20 years, people lose their immune system. It could be, I could say, maybe I'm not 100% sure, but I can say this. People in West and Europe countries, lack of immune system in their body. That is the one reason why most of the people got affected because of the coronavirus. You will see that that number of deaths, for example, why those numbers were increased in Europe countries and America. You will see that it is not that much number within our region of Asia and everything. That's because of they have very low immune system because of their food taking, the routine of the food. The system, the food system that they are having. Mostly, they go for fast food items, and mostly they go for frozen items, and then they don't have the enough sunlight. They always stay inside, and of course the place, geographically speaking, there is no sunlight. So all this, takes all this you should take into consideration. So now a company is actually selling us a noodles, or with the noodles comes with a pocket. If you open the pocket, it's a full of salt, and salt is good for you, but too much salt, it's never good for you. It will take away your immune system, because too much salt. This is what actually why you eat any chips or noodles, or anything that there is a salt. You know why? Because salt will keep any food longer, because there is a because you see, that is the reason why we use salt for what they call it, ecambulis, right? So we use the salt for pickles. You know why we use salt in pickles? Because it will stay longer. So salt will keep the thing. It won't go away. It won't expire soon. So that's the reason why they put salt in everywhere. So people eating it, they become something. They have some problems in their body. I can talk longer, in this issue. I think this issue is big, by the way. Anyway, here I just want to pinpoint all this so that you understand the purpose and effect. Yeah. If someone say chocolate is healthy food, then they show you the chocolate advertisements and all, what exactly the effect they are bringing it, right? So you can discuss more in according to your knowledge. You have seen so many things. I'm just giving you some perspective. So this is what actually we are talking about. As I told you, this is one of my favorite chapter, purpose and effect. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about all these things, and then now we are going to talk about the deficiency of consent. So as I told you, your consent is the most important thing in your concluding, when you are concluding the contract. If there is any deficiencies in consent, it will not be accepted. um, it will be defective. The contract will be not valid. Yeah. So there are a couple of forms of couple of factors actually makes the consent defective. So there are four factors. So let me show you one by one. This is, here we are talking about the consent, which means that, when I told you last time, when you do a business, when you do a sale contract, buyer and seller, they both of them, they must have a mutual consent. No one can push, no one can compel somebody to do that. They have to have a consent. The consent must be clear, expressive. Yeah, that's so now we are going to talk about the deficiency of consent. There are four of them. Let's talk about one by one. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen and myself, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now this is the first one, is a duress. It refers to a situation where a person is forced against his consent to enter into a contract, which, if left alone, he would not have entered into. So it's like, threatening somebody. For example, I know you have seen a lot of movies. If you have gun, someone putting the gun in your in your head, right? So that's how people. It's called duress. So they say, okay, if you don't do that, I will kill somebody. If you don't sign the contract, I will kill your daughter. I will kill your wife. This kind of threatening things are coming. This is called duress, or they just put you in some places. Maybe they severely torturing you, asking you to do that. This type of coercions destroy consent and invalidates a person's choice. You see, now the it apparently it looks like the contract is happening, right? But apparently it's happening, but the truth is it is the invalid contract according to fiqh perspective, according to sharia perspective. That's the reason why the person can go back to the police station and said he asked me to come, he compelled me to do this contract, but it was out of my consent. I was not interested at all. You can go back and you can bring the lawyer and you can actually make a report, right? That's because it is invalid. But duress never destroy the capacity of a person. The person is compatible. The person, like seller and buyer, they are compatible because they have the capacity of, which we call it complete active legal capacity. They have it, but the consent is not there. For that reason, it is not allowed. Then there are some conditions, of course. When I say duress means it has to be something that is actually something that refer to killing himself, or refer to death or something, that kind of dangerous thing. Not like, for example, if you don't sell this contract, I will not give you the chocolate, right? It is not that kind of conditions, not that, not kind. So it has to be severe, it has to be immediate. The one who uses force is capable of implementing the threat. You of course, someone must be stronger than you. Then only that duress is a duress. It's not, otherwise it's not. If someone is weaker than you, for sure you don't have to. It is not called duress. The person forced is certain that the one who uses force would implement it. The nature of threat is such that it really endangers your life. The threat must be endangering. The threat must be immediate, right? The threat must be, the force must be unlawful purpose, for the purpose of unlawful things to do. So for the majority of the majority of the scholars, according to them, is actually the contract is invalid, which is void, invalid. The number two is actually mistake. This is something, it's not about compelling, not about forcing somebody. This is actually without intention, it happened. It is not actually something that I wanted to cheat you. Mistake is different from cheating. I will come back to cheating in the next slide, but here I'm talking about mistake, which means that you don't have the intention to cheat somebody, but it happened. Then we have two types of mistakes. One is with regard to the substance of a thing, and then attributes of the thing. For example, the mistake happened in the substance of a thing. For example, you came to me to buy some gold, but mistakenly I gave you the silver. Definitely gold and silver is not the same thing, right? So this is what we call suspense. For example, you came and you wanted to buy from me the camera, but I gave you the handphone. Yeah, so two different things. You came and buy for, you wanted to buy from me the slippers, but then I gave you I gave you the cap or something else. Yeah, so when you go home and then you open the box, it's a different thing. So definitely this mistake will invalidate the contract. This type of mistake invalidates the contract, as it is void ab initio. uh, Void ab initio means you don't have to take care of, I mean, you don't have to, it is not considered as a valid contract. It has to, you have to let it go. It will invalidate, so you have to come back and then you have to return and take back the money, or you have to return and buy the right thing, right? You cannot be keeping that. In fact, if it is the opposite happens, also the same thing. All right, let me bring the same example in a different way. You went to the shop and you wanted to buy the silver, then the shop person, the seller, gave you the gold. He did the mistake. He's supposed to give you the silver because you paid for the silver, but when you go home and you open it, you saw, voila, you saw that suddenly it looks like gold. Can you keep the gold? See, everybody love to keep the gold, right? No, you cannot keep the gold because it is not yours, first of all. Number two is a mistake. So that is the reason why the Sharia said it is invalid. Whether it is for you or it is against you, in both of the circumstances, the the sale is invalid because it is, of course, it is going to, either one of you, whether you or your seller, whether seller or buyer, one of them is going to get problem. I mean, one of them is going to get the defect of the sale. One of them is going to lose something. So for that reason, the sale is where the sale is void, which means invalid. Okay. The another one is, I told you, the other one is attributes, mistakes in attributes of a thing, which means that you went to the shop, but he gave you mistakenly something, which means that it is not the differences like gold and silver. It is the same thing, it is the same product, but it's maybe the different size, maybe different color. For example, you went to the shop, you wanted to buy tudong, and then you wanted to buy the green color tudong, and then you made the deal and you came home, you opened the pocket, you opened the packet, and then you saw that it was blue, right? So maybe some of you are okay, but I think most of you still problem, right? Because I know you are very particular in color, especially tudong color, right? So let's say, what about the what about the shoes for the boys? Yeah, so you bought one type of shoe, the size, but you came home and then it was a different color. So here, or different size, for example. But here, the contract will not become invalid. So you see the differences up there. If it is the substance, the contract is going to be invalid. If it is attributes, changing the color or changing the size or whatever related to that level, we call it attributes changing. Here the contract is not going to be invalid. It is valid, but you have the option to change, to go back and change the color. So the options must be given, right? This is what number two. So you can go back, and then the party will give you the right thing. If there is no right thing, if it is sold out, then you return back and you take your money, right? So the contract is valid. You cannot go and quarrel with him. Okay, since you gave me the wrong one, you cannot. I want to cancel the contract. You cannot do that because it's not fair, because the mistake was only in attributes, not in substance. Sorry, not in substance. Yeah. Number three, fraud. Okay, this is different. See, mistakes and fraud, cheating is different. It refers to a situation where the performer of a contract is made to believe that the contract is in his interest, but in reality it is not. See that? It is like kind of, manipulating. It's like seducing someone to buy something. It's a kind of cheating, we call it. This kind of cheating, fraud, can be actual or verbal or in the form of hiding the truth. Okay, let me go one by one. Actual. What is actual fraud? Actual fraud refers to a situation where the person, through his actions, changes the subject of the contract with the intention to cheat another person. So this is what we call actual fraud, which means that someone really want to sell something which is not. Yeah, it looks like a brand new iPhone he wanted to sell, so he put the casing, very nice new casing. It looks like from out of the box, and then you thought it's a brand new iPhone, but he's selling for 1,000 ringgit, usually 2,000, 3,000 ringgit. So you thought it's a new iPhone, but you go home and then later you found out only the casing is new, but inside everything is used. Yeah, here I give you example: painting a car in order to look new, changing the mileage of a car, which means that according to the majority of the scholars, they said this this contract is not valid, it is void. So you have they have the options to go back and return the car, or in your case return the iPhone. You have all the right to do that. But Hanafi additionally say something which I like it. Hanafi, they say not only that you have to go and return the product, the seller, the one who cheated you, he has to pay some compensation. I like this one because you've been treated as as an entity of cheating. So he played with you and he took your time, and then you went all the way back, coming and going. All these efforts must be compensation. So otherwise, this is what according to Hanafi, the seller has to pay you extra or give you something else for the compensation. This is called actual fraud. What is actually verbal fraud? Okay, verbal fraud is where one of the parties tries to convince another party by words to enter into a contract, giving the wrong information or maybe a lying. Nowadays is happening. They say, okay, you drink this, you go for this drink. You go for this tonic, or it's a fruit juice or whatever it is. You have it. Inshallah, you will be look like a 20 all the time. Huh? So it's like, you say, they say you will be looking like a young man all the time, young women all the time. They always say that this kind of things. I think you have seen so many advertisements and the people are selling, and I don't know why people still buying those kind of thing, right? Okay, this action is prohibited, of course. This kind of cheating is actually prohibited. But remember here, action is prohibited, but it does not affect the validity of a contract except when the goods are sold for higher price than the market. For example, he is selling to you something with the normal price. Let's say that juice. He said this is the this is a for example avocado juice, or it could be a normal avocado juice with a normal price. Like for example, one bottle is 20 ringgit. Let's say he is selling that for 20 ringgit, but he is selling you this is avocado. This one came from Sri Lanka or maybe some different countries. It has a future. It has a special feature. You drink this, you become young. So this kind of thing. But he is selling to you for the same price like 20 ringgit. Right, but he used the word, understand. Sometimes you go, people selling the same thing, it is called marketing. This kind of marketing, for example, he is selling the same thing, but he will be talking to you nicely. He will be saying very good things about the product. Have you seen people, very good example, have you seen people selling in the supermarket, not inside, outside the supermarket? They will be cutting the vegetables. Sometimes they will be making some chapati. They will be making like, cutting machines, fryers and all, and they will be showing the demo. I think most of you have seen it, right? Yeah, I see you are still knocking your head. Yeah. So I think see, so this kind of things, like they will be telling you, um like, this is a very good machine, you use it, it will be good for you, this and that. I know they are lying. Right, I know they are saying some crappy things about, because they just want to sell to you the things. Yeah, but as long as they are not actually cheating you with the money. For example, that price everywhere is only 20 ringgit. Suddenly they want to give you this information and they want to sell the same thing for 100 ringgit, for example. Right, you can buy that thing in the supermarket for 20 ringgit, but this guy is selling for 100 ringgit. Then the content is not correct, you have to go back and return back to him. But if he is selling you for the same price, but he is using the wrong information and giving you because he wants you to buy it, you know as I told you, the action is prohibited. Understand? It is actually haram to lie to your customer. You cannot you are not allowed to lie. If you come and say, Ustaz, I cannot do any business without lie, better you don't do business. Because the lie is actually the most dangerous thing to do, which is haram. The act is actually haram, but the contract is valid. Yeah. Okay. Fraud may also happen when a seller doesn't disclose the defect of the sold goods. For example, accidents in the car. In this case, the purchaser has the option of defect which entitles him to either approve or cancel. This is another scenario. Sometime you will be buying a motorbike. You will be thinking like, is second-hand motorbike, of course, the used one. You will be thinking like there is no accident, and he will be saying, yeah, it is very good condition, good condition. There is no accident. But later you come to know that there was an accident, but he repaired. Yeah, maybe he lied to you. There is no accident. For that lie, his action is haram, of course, because he lied to you, but the contract is still valid because you didn't buy that product. You didn't buy that motorbike above the market rate because it's a second-hand motorbike, isn't it? So but still, if there is a defect you found, for example, after 3 months you are doing the motorbike, you are riding it, and suddenly after 3 months there's a problem in the engine, then you are finding there's a problem in the engine, which will, if you start repairing it, there will be a huge money that you need to repair it. Then you can actually go back to him because you still have the option of defect, which we call khiyar al-aib. This khiyar is actually kind of a guarantee and warranty that people doing nowadays. Yeah. For example, you buy any second-hand product, you go to any shopping mall, any technical IT shop and all. If you are buying second-hand product, they will be giving you some sort of guarantee and warranty period, let's say 3 months or 6 months. Yeah, so these are the thing what we call khiyar. Within this period you found, you have to use it properly. You have to use it until you will see the problem. If you see the problem within that within the stipulated time, you come back and you return your product, you are okay. They will take it back. So this is what we call option of defect. Then we have number 4, which is deception. This is very bad. Deception is something. Just give me 1 second. Somebody is calling me to my office number. All right, I'm sorry. It happened. There was a call from the office. Okay, so I was saying this is deception, right? So this deception is completely something that it's someone is actually using your ignorance. Deception may happen due to the ignorance of the buyer as to the true price of the commodity. So types, there are some types of coupon. For example, there are slight deception, there are serious deception. Slight deception called yasir, fahish, al-ghubun yasir, and then serious deception called al-ghubun fahish. Yeah, so now you can see this is something like I'm using you because you don't have the enough information about the commodity of the product, and then I'm selling to you, like for example, you don't know the price. I am selling to you the price, the product for double price, for example 100% or maybe 200%. It's a kind of deception. For example, you go to any new places. If let's say you are the tourist, it happens to you when you are the new places. If they come to know you are the tourist, then the price will be different. They will be asking you to pay extra, this and that. This kind of thing is called deception, al-ghubun. So as I told you, there are two types of deception. One is like a slight deception, which is like buying a thing 10% more than its market price. right? And then this kind of a contract is actually valid. For example, I can give you this kind of examples. If you go to the market, if you go to any supermarket, you know the price of any toothpaste or brush. If you go on this, if you buy the same thing in the airport, the price will be different. If you buy the same thing into any places, like there is a garden, or there is a recreational places, like you go to any highland, for example, it could be Cameroon or Genting, or those kind of places. You go there, the price will be slightly different. So that one we called a slight deception. That one is manageable differences, because you already know the price, so there will be, of course, there is differences. So that one we called a slight deception, which the contract is valid. All right. Then the next one, you have serious deception, which we call fahish. Right. If the deception is a serious, the contract can be invalidated on that ground. For example, to the Hanafi, okay, to the Hanafis, there is two things you need to understand. This one is a deception, which is ghubun, right? Someone wants to sell to you something which is not, which is actually he is using his mouth, his verbally he is actually seducing you, or he actually making you to understand, and then manipulate you so that you can buy. It's kind of gubun. If gubun alone does not entitle the cheated party to cancel the contract, because ghubun alone cannot be. For example, you go to the shop and then you took the soap. No, usually the soap is 2 ringgit, but suddenly you saw there the soap is like 3 ringgit or something. uh, then this is actually a ghubun according to the place, but this ghubun is accepted. They are not saying that this is a special kind of soap, that's why we are selling for 3 ringgit. It's because of the place. If you go to any five-star hotel, you want to buy something from the hotel, and you know the price, it's a different price, isn't it? But if that ghubun comes with taghrir, okay, remember what I mean by taghrir. It means wrong description of sold item. Then the buyer has the option to cancel the contract, which means there is a ghubun. The Yes, the soap is a 2 ringgit. There is a ghubun, right? At the same time, there is also taghrir. Let's say the soap 2 ringgit now everywhere. You go to that place, he's selling for 3 ringgit. As long as he's selling for 3 ringgit, this ghubun is okay. But if he said the reason we are selling for 3 ringgit because of this description, and then in the description he says this soap is different from other soap, and this soap is has a power, has a additional perfume, this and that, which is not. If it is true, in okay, right? If it is true, it's okay. But he is actually justifying why he is selling that for 3 ringgit because of this reason. That reason is wrong. Then we call this taghrir. So remember, according to Hanafi, if ghubun and taghrir comes together, understand the point? It comes together, then the buyer has the option to cancel the contract. You can come back and you can say, I don't want to keep this contract because you told me this soap is actually special soap. That's why I paid you double price. But I go home and then I saw it looks like a normal soap, like everybody's soap. And why you have to sell me for the double price? Then you can come back and you can cancel the contract. This is according to Hanafi. Exceptions with regard to the properties owned by Baitul Mal, Waqf, or minors, lunatics, and prodigals, where the mere existence of Google will invalid. Okay, this is different exception. Exceptions means I'm talking to you the normal adult to adult sale, adult to adult contract. If minors doing the minors cannot do the contract related to minors, or related to Baitul Mal, related to Waqf thing kind of things, even the gubun also is not accepted. Even a gubun, not necessarily has to be taghrir. Yes, taghrir and gharar. Yeah, the difference between a gharar and taghrir is actually is a making of in taghrir you write it properly. Gharar, of course, whether you write it or you use the word, everything is a gharar. But this tagrir is something that you really want to, you give the wrong labeling, the labels, we call it, descriptions. This is what we call tagrir. This tagrir called wrong in descriptions of sold items, because you might be wondering why this bottle of juice is so expensive, and then they said this is the special edition, and then they say special edition because we put something different thing inside. There are so many things, good things, but at the end of the day you say, oh no, this is not, this is the same juice bottle. I used to pay for 2 ringgit, now why I have to pay for 10 ringgit, right? So taghrir means this is the taghrir. Then you don't have, then the contract will be invalid. As I told you, if it is for waqaf, baitul mal, or anything like that, even slight, even a slight deception also is accepted, because even slight deception also cannot be allowed. That's because of you are dealing with something very respected. You are dealing with waqaf, you are dealing with baitul mal. All right. Okay, ghubun alone meaning, yes. Ghubun alone meaning a slight deception. Yes, the question, yeah. Ghubun alone means slight deception, but there is a ghubun yasir, then a ghubun fahish, right? So because you cannot say all kind of ghubun is actually not allowed, because nowadays you can see people. I know they call themselves genius because they are able to conclude the contract. They say, today I was able to sell the 100 ringgit things for 1,000 ringgit. It's a kind of, people feel proud, but it is actually something is actually, ghubun is not allowed. I'm telling, just remember this, what I'm saying. I said ghubun contract is valid. It doesn't mean that ghubun is allowed. Ghubun is wrong. Ghubun is haram, actually. You cannot cheat anybody. Deception is wrong. Deception is haram, of course. As an action is haram. But here the question of the hukum. Here the question of the contract, conclusion, whether the concluding contract is valid or not valid. This is what we are talking about. So if it is a slight deception, your contract is valid. But as a buyer, your contract is valid. But as the seller, he is doing a big mistake, because as a seller he is selling you, he is decepting you and selling you. For that he has to answer to Allah. So this world is actually very independent, free world. Remember, this is free world. You can do whatever you want. Nobody is going to stop you, ya akhi. Nobody is going to stop you. Play as much as possible. Grow, roam around as much as possible. You can do anything you want, but at the end of the day you have to answer to Allah. Because tomorrow, if you're earning money with this kind of if you are earning money, if this kind of taghrir and ghubun, maybe in this world no one is stopping you, but in the next world, of course, Allah will stop you, right? Because Allah will ask you, min aina iktasabta, from where you earn the money, and how did you earn the money, and how did you spend it. So for that reason, we have to be very careful of what we are selling, and what is the method that we are using to sell things, and how do we sell. In fact, including the description, we need to put the proper in description. In fact, we also should tell, sometimes, this kind of food items is not good for you. Then you have to be careful with what you are selling to people, right? I know the risk is, you may say the risk is yours. Usually you go to parking area, they say park at your own risk. Yeah, nowadays it's not only parking at your own risk, even purchasing also at your own risk. People would say, we are allowed to sell anything, it is your own risk. This is not something good, islamically speaking. Islamically speaking, I should not be in that ground where I think I'm actually contributing something to the bad. I mean, contributing to the people with something bad going to happen. Even the small thing also, because I'm accountable. Even though the contract is valid, but it doesn't mean that I'm doing the good thing, right? I have to answer to Allah for everything. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the classes, when Abdurrahman ibn Auf is a rich Sahabi, rich companion, mashallah. He's one of the Asharatul Mubashshara, one of the 10 people who Prophet ﷺ already promised the paradise for them while they were living in this world. They were given promise that they will enter paradise, by the way. So one of them is Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. He is a great Sahabi. He has a huge wealth, subhanallah. He had a huge wealth. He has a lots and lots of money, wealth, right? Then the truth is he will be entering the paradise, but 500 years later, which means that half day in akhirah is 500 years in this world. One day in akhirah, alfa sanatin mimma ta'uddun. Allah says in the Quran. In some other verses, Allah says even 10,000 years. You know, so one day in akhirah is 1,000 a year. So he will be entering half a day later than all those Sahabi going to the paradise. Why? What is the reason? This half a day he has to answer all the questions related to his business. He has to answer each and every question. That is what we call accountability. There will be hisab. Remember, yawma yakumul hisab. We read this every day. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmuddin. Yeah, Yawmuddin, Yawmuddain. Yeah, this is Yawmuddin. Because he is the Malik, he is the king of the day of the accountability. So everyone should answer to Allah about this accountability. That is the most important thing. That's the reason why whatever we do, we can make money, but we have to be careful that whether that money is halal for me or not. We have to be very, very careful because this is Mazra'ul Akhirah. This dunya is Mazra'ul Akhirah, which means that this is a dunya, this is the farming land of Akhirah. Whatever you whatever you want to crop, you want to harvest in akhirah, you're supposed to carefully do the work in this world. You have to carefully use the farming land for that purpose. Yeah, so I think that's the reason why ghubun, of course, is something prohibited, but we are here talking about the action, the legal side of the contract, right? Okay, so now move to the last slide of the day. All right. Okay. To the Hanabilis, see, this is what Hanbalis are talking. They say whether the ghubun, whether it is accompanied by taghurir or not, definitely is going to affect the validity of the contract. The buyer, according to Adam, has the right to cancel the contract. In case of talaqi or rukban najash, or where he is ignorant of the actual price and relied on the honesty of the seller. See, this is something amazing. Talaqi or rukban, and let me tell you what is it. As I told you earlier, according to Hanafi, yeah, they have differences. If it is ghubun and taghrir together, then the contract will be not valid. But according to Hanbali, whether there is a taghrir or not, whether there's a ghubun, whether it is a yasir or fahish, slight ghubun, whether it is slight, whether there is a slight deception or a hard and difficult deception, the contract is not valid. They are actually bringing the examples of talaqi, ar-rukban, and najish. Najish means what? It refers to an increase in price by a third party who is not actually buying but wants to encourage others to offer a higher price. This is called najish. You know, if you are in the auction, it happens even nowadays. Is happening in the online. You will be saying you want to buy something in Muda or something like, you know, online. It's called auction, they call it. In this, you will be seeing, you know, what they call lelong, right? Lelong. Yeah, they call it, you know, for example, you want to buy something, a camera or a second-hand camera, which supposed to be you can buy for 300 ringgit or 500 ringgit. Then there is someone is actually increasing the price, 700, 800. He has no intention to buy. He's increasing the buy because that man is actually a friend of the friend of the seller. So seller, so even you can see the real life examples. If you go to Pasar Malam, and then, you know, if someone is doing it in my country, yeah, so many people do this kind of things in the market. You go to any place and you will be seeing the own person will come and ask the price. How much is it? Oh, 100 ringgit. I'm ready to pay 100 ringgit. Can you give me three, two, three, two, three, four? Because they just want, they don't have the intention to buy the thing, right? After you buy, then they will come back and return the items and take the money back. So their intention is just to increase the price. This is the one of the wrongdoing of Najash, wrongdoing of the seller. Let's say if the seller is doing this kind of thing, he may get the money, but he is supposed to answer to Allah of what he is doing. Then you have talaqi ar-rukban. Talaqi ar-rukban is something, there is a farmer, he is actually bringing the vegetables, yeah, bring the vegetables from the from Cameroon, for example. He's bringing the, so before he reached Slayang market, you know, the Slayang market is actually where they are selling the things, or maybe Chaukit market, or maybe Sentul, wherever it is in the Kuala Lumpur. I know you know your places. I'm just telling you my the places that I know. So now before he entered to that market, someone stopping him and buying everything from him without telling him the real price of the market, right? He's saying that, okay, I want to buy everything for this price. This is the price for you, I'm giving it to you. Then he took that thing and then he come to the market and then he sell it for double price or triple price. You know, this is a kind of a talaqi ar-rukban, or meeting a seller on his way to the town and buying from him the commodity before the seller has to ever chance to reach the market and know the actual price. Yeah, this is a kind of deception which is not allowed. To the Shafi'i, it's a different thing. Come, see now. I told you about Hanafi, right? Hanafi, they said ghubun together with tagrir is not valid. Humbly, they said whether it is tagrir or no tagrir doesn't matter. Totally, it is not valid. Look what, according to Imam Shafi'i, he says. He say a person cheated should have known the actual price, or should have asked those who had experience. The Shafi'i attribute to this the fault of the party cheated. The Shafi'i therefore do not give the option to rescind the contract. So very sorry to Shafi'is, because there is no, I mean, there is no chance for you to come back and return the product, because you don't have the option to return, because you should know better before you buy. It's a kind of, you know, education. I like it. Whether this is what my father used to tell all the time is, you don't become a person. Maybe my father, I know my father was Hanafi, but maybe for this my father was Shafi'i. So he was saying that, yeah, you should know the real price before you go to the market. Now you cannot say, because now you have phone, you can check the price. You know, even myself also, if I have to buy a laptop or the monitor to the IT shop, anything, I always go and check my online shoppings and all. I say, this is the price they're selling in the online. What do you say? Right, so you can actually check the price by yourself. You don't have to, if someone is actually cheating you today, maybe you must be 90 years old or 100 years old, because now you have so many opportunity to know the real price. By the way, this is what I'm saying. This is actually gubun, like the deception, normal deception. If it is actually deception, fahish is a different thing. If someone is doing the fahish deception, of course the contract is not valid. But here I'm talking to you about the normal deception, slight deception. If someone is doing that and then you just bought it, so you just bought it lah. You bought it because you just bought it. You don't have chance to return. You should know the price. This is what according to Imam Shafi'i. All right, so I'm stopping here. So I'm stopping here. So I just open the floor for questions. And before that, let me just, all right.